Hey everyone, we're expecting Dai event to return next in DQT. So I wanted to start making several videos to cover what we can expect from this event. In this video, I'll explain about expected timelines for Dai event and specifically about what to expect in part 1, which is mainly Blossom units of previously released Dai units. I will cover all 9 Blossom units in this video. I try to create content that is useful to both new and advanced players from what I can gather from JP version player base. So if you could like and subscribe, this really helps me understand what kind of content I need to be focusing on, so please do so if you can. Now, after what happened with the Fragment event, I'm not really entirely sure what we can expect from DQT, to be honest, for Global. So I'm going to put this little disclaimer in my videos moving forward, so please bear with me with that. It's just note to say that this is all my latest thinking seen from JP Trend, and it might not be what we were getting in the Global. Okay, with that caveat, Dai fans rejoice because we are getting so many units. In this part 1 of the video, I decided to go by in order of importance, in my opinion. So ranking of 9th to the 1st. Try guessing which unit I think is the best of the batch. But also, I'm a big Dai fan myself, so let me know what your favorite character is in the comments. That'd be really fun to know. My favorite character is by far Pop, the ordinary guy come to succeed and become an ultimate mage. So yeah, that's me for my favorite for you. Anyway, these 9 Blossom units can be upgraded for half of the usual material needed to Blossom. Also, the events that we've seen in the previous Dai event will be coming back. So this is a perfect opportunity for new players. And moreover, you'll be getting double the drops on all the items, all the friend points, and all the on the monsters drops that you see at the bottom. So great way for new players to catch up. Regarding the banners, they are actually mostly the same as previous, as I understand, but they also come with each individual paid banners as well. So that makes 4 paid banners. And also there's a 5th paid banners, which is a special banner guaranteed to get one of the 4. So I would recommend, if you're going to spend, trying the special banner, because at least you can't get a peacock or great troll, right? So you try that. If you get the unit you want, then you might want to do further on the desired unit. Also, we'll be getting 40 scout tickets, I believe, and then I think this can be you can choose which banner to spend it on, so that you see on the left. Anyway, let's move on to the unit review. So it's in order of ranking from 9 to 1. So who is the 9th character in my opinion? So the 9th character in my opinion was Crocodile. So what is he like? So he gets a selflessness, so he essentially becomes a like a cover tank. He also gets a martial buff only for beasts on even turns, and then various kind of stats and damage upgrades. He already had a Warrior's Pride, which lets him survive at 1 HP, when hit with the critical damage, which is kind of interesting. You combine that with the cover. But should you Blossom, should you pull, not really worth chasing unless you really need a tank of his type. So if you got Diamond Slime, I haven't used any other tanks other than Diamond Slime recently. So his damage is non-existent. The buff of the martial buff, it could be interesting, so Vera or Balzac, but it only kicks in even turn, so that's why I put him in the 9th. Okay, next up is Hyunko. He gets a move 3, which is a really nice addition, and gets general resistance and survivability and a damage upgrade. He already had a very unique skill of Immortal, which lets him survive by 60% chance if you're hit by a critical attack. So should you Blossom? No, I don't think so. You shouldn't really pull for him. He's still only a kind of damn attacker and only average at that. But if you do have Awakening Fire from the previous event, then it might be a nice option in GVG defense, or worth considering. But also, I'd like to just remind you that the free version, the formal version of Hyun Kyo is coming. My recommendation is to skip altogether. And number 7 is the Dark Commander Hadler in the first form. A lot of it is about just making more resilient, pretty much same unit as he was. He has a very nice traits already, so he's a great unit. But sadly, there are just too many competing for a weight 50 slot, and you don't need that many 50 weight 50 units when you can choose like 65, etc., etc. So I don't think he's worth just putting in the full in for this. Of course, if you have got Awakening 5 or Awakening 3 even, then he might be worth considering as a Sizz and Bang attacker. It does decent damage. The theoretical damage is actually really high, but it's not practical because he needs to be hit multiple times and survive, which is outside of your control, right, sometimes. And number 6 is my favorite Pop. I'll put him in 6th. Now, he's actually a really great unit. What he gets is extra damage on the turn 3. He already had a buff on the turn 3 anyway, so that makes him really strong on the turn 3. He already had a move 4, Levy Zoom, which allowed him to move 4 squares in the first turn. However, actually gets an upgrade on this, and then this lasts 3 turns, so he can move 4 squares for 3 turns, and on top of that he also gets an evasion. Should you pull though, it's really shame that he's hidden behind Dai and Hyun banner. Really just pull for an A rank though. And but if you already got Awakening 3 or 5, this is a very good Blossom, so I would really go with him. Also noting that on turn 3 he can use his coup, which is Donk, and the Donk it has a highest buying chance of 80% in the game, so it's really good. But his main kind of a DPS attack, which is Kafriz, is a little bit mediocre these days. Now, speaking of damage, I just wanted to do a quick comparison of his third turn Donk damage versus Zoma's turn 3 damage. As you can see, he does Zoma's levels damage, which is super impressive, right? But Kafriz, as you can see, the damage is really low, even at Awakening 5, only 872. So yeah. He needs to survive the first 2 turns, and then he can do a chunk of damage on turn 3. Next up is Baran. He's a free farmable unit, and he's placed in the 5th. So he is, he gets first of all a kind of healing or support ability, which can be only used once. But this buffs attack, defense, whiz, and agility, so all stats. And then also he gets he heals HP of the unit. So now this might be a perfect option to cast on Saruman Slayer on a turn 2 or 3 to extend his kind of buff, or just in general to use it on any unit. So really nice addition as a support. He gets also upgrade on Soala's Bond, so he becomes level 2. This was initially a 50% damage increase on turn 3. In a similar way to Pop, but he now gets 100% uplift on physical potency. So really impressive damage on the turn 3. It's been very useful in the PvE in the past. Should you Blossom question it's a difficult one. I will personally wait for it, to be honest. He used to be a really staple Zap DPS for F2P or budget players, but now less useful because there's so many good Zap attackers nowadays. If you, however, are a new user and a shorter Zap attack, he's an excellent attacker, so definitely worth recommending blossoming. Next up is Flazard. So I placed him quite high for an A rank unit, actually, and then I'm going to show you reason why. So he gets the Blossom skills is generally a 1 move up, which is really good. So it's a move of 3 now. And then also the key one though is a follow-up attack when he makes a magic attack and range of 3. So the reason I really like this unit is because he's kind of potential damage that he can do on a range. When he attacks an enemy on range 3 is huge. So as you can see on the upgraded chart on the below, so his 5-finger flares does 1,200 average resisting, which is already high, as a much better than Kafriz. And then there's an iceberg bash follow-up of 4-1, around 414. This is kind of estimate, by the way, so please take it as just kind of guide, which also has a 60% chance of bind, and then that damage totals to 1,600 plus. And that damage is actually very close to, say, it's only one unit, but it's close to like Zenlong damage. So especially the fact that he can be geared with like magic, like a wizard gears, this damage can go up quite significantly. Circa 2,000. So really strong as a kind of a magic DPS. So should you pull, should you blossom? He's a one-trick pony, but I really like him. So if it's also good, it's good that he's hidden behind a great S-rank. Spoiler alert. If you max awakening Dragonoid Baran, so you should get him a max awakening very easily. He's even usable at low awakening because of that follow-up and the bind chance. Personally, I would blossom him if it's better than awakening 3. So next up, the third is protagonist Dai. So Dai gets a nice upgrade as well, but he is mainly just going to get an overhaul on damage and resistance. And the main one is the kind of damage reduction on the Draconic Aura. And he was already good with his skill, the top one on the bottom, Dragon Crest, which is basically gives him a 50% damage uplift when his HP is low enough. So should you pull, should you blossom? I wouldn't just pull on this guy. But if you do have Awakening 1, he's definitely a viable PB option. His top damage is somewhat impressive, so really strong. And he has 3 elements attack, so that also makes him really versatile. In RTA and the PvP contents though, his weakness to sleep is really a downside, and he didn't get any agility buff, means he's not really an optimal choice for a PvP. So I wouldn't go Awakening 5 on him. Next up, number 2 is Mom. This is where everything gets quite interesting and exciting. So Mom is a really good unit. She's also farmable. She gets as a blossom is that she gets another follow-up. She already had a Scissor Shot, which is another one follow-up, but Scissor Shot of range 1 to 3. So definitely blossom this unit. She can do really high damage with the 2 follow-ups. So that again similar to Flazzard. So this one is actually follow-up only works on if any ally attacks the enemy. So please be mindful of that. Also, she has a Tingle Shot, which makes somewhat paralysis weakness unit more viable, such as Asteros. I put in a kind of reference for damage, so I got this from one of the YouTubers in JP. So she does really good damage in the base. So Scissor Shot and Coup can do 2,100 damage. And the follow-ups of an ally's follow-up can do, if it's 3 squares away, that's 955 plus 786, so about 1,750 damage, which is huge, right? So I think she's really good as a support and coming with a Tingle Shot. I'm just going to give it this chart as a reference. She also has a charges that how many times you can use these skills. Okay, so by this point you already know who I think is the number 1 blossom unit. Yes, you guessed right. So it's Dragonoid Baran. It's the number 1 unit in my opinion. So why is he so good? So he is all about Dorora. His main attack which is unreflectable, attack scaling magic, which has a 40% chance to halve the healing effect. This blossom makes him stronger than Omega in damage and close to Doma level. Previously he had an MP issue, so he can use only like 2 shots of Dorora. But this has been mostly resolved as a result of Blossom. You really need Awakening 5, to be honest, to compensate for the very high cost Dorora. And then next point that why he's good is that he becomes absolutely tough tank, and he gets a 30% damage mitigation. Only condition is HP being 20% and above. So pretty much permanent damage reduction. And then he also gets 8 Balzac like auto healing, start of turn and when attack 15%, 10% respectively. So it makes it really, really bulky if you can't one-shot him. And he's very hard to one-shot, as you can imagine, because of the 30% reduction. And also he gets a damage and agility buff on odd turns, bit similar to Erdrick, but only on agility, and a damage potency, spell potency, physical and spell potency. Why this agility buff is a big deal, as you've probably seen with Erdrick and Solo, is that there's a turn where he can agility increases and can take action back to back, which makes him really, really strong, even stronger. I put on the Awakening 3 and Awakening 5 perks there, which especially Awakening 3 perk is really important. Okay, so let's look at the strength and the weaknesses. I've pretty much covered all the strengths. Dora is excellent, very bulky, agility buff useful. All of this is for a weight 50 is an absolute bargain in weight terms. And heal reduction is really better than you might think because there are so many auto heal units coming. Now let's look at the weaknesses though. The weaknesses includes weakness to confuse. So that's the huge one. I don't, as you might know, I don't like confused, sleep, or paralyzed, but just the value it offers at weight 50 offsets that. He also weak to bang as Frizz as well, Sizz as well, but bang weakness is a big deal right now. We got Sarah the Manslayer, we got Erdrick and so on, but you have to have a weakness, right? So, but just be mindful that he gets quite a chunk damage from those guys. Snub from Solo completely negates his Dorora. However, he does have a physical attack option, so kind of better than some just magic only attackers. His magic is unreflectable, but still can be reduced at the damage mitigation. So that's a one to watch out for. I put the overkilling machine image there. Reason is he's gonna get tons of magic damage reduction at battle start. And he can be a good counter for Dragonoid Baran. So watch out for him when he gets Blossom. And then I think biggest downside from realistic practical point of view is that you really need to max awaken him to be able to take a full advantage of what we said. Okay, that's an extremely long video, but I want to give you my overview, my first impression of Dai Blossom units. How useful should you pull? Should you blossom? I mean, let me know what you think. These are just my opinions. So I put it in the usual chart. So firstly, let's look at Awakening 1. So Awakening 1, I put Dai in a graceless spot because he does chunks of damage. In PV, you can control Dai's HP to your cause. So I placed him as great in the Awakening 1 tier. And then I put on nice to have as a Flazzard and a Hadler, as they do okay damage at that tier, so usable, my point of view. So I placed him there. Dragonoid Baran, Hyun or Crocodile and Pop, I placed in Meh because they just don't work at such low awakening. He needs to be at least Awakening 3 for you to be talking about this unit. Then Awakening 5, which is mainly geared around GVG or stronger PvE contents, I put in top tier Dragonoid Baran and Mom because they're absolutely great. And then on the great tier, I put the free Baran, Flazzard, Pop, and Dai. So this is where Pop becomes a lot stronger at max awakening, as you've seen, can do Zoma level damage. And then I put on nice to have a Crocodile, Hyunkel, Hadler, but really super niche in terms of Crocodile and Hyun, and Hadler just sadly because there are so many better Wave 50 units coming or released together with Baran. So that's my view on early verdict on the blossoming units. Let me know what you think as well. And again, please like and subscribe if you found any of this useful. Thank you again. See you soon.